Moshe says to the Klal Yisrael, in the midst of rebuking them, admonishing them for the past behavior, Hashem Elokeichem, Hirbo Eschem, Hashem, your God, has increased your number. Vinchem Hayom Kikochli Hashemayim Larov. And today you are the equivalent of the stars of the heaven in abundance. Now, when Hashem gave the Ovos HaKadoshim, the holy patriarchs, the bracha that children be like the stars of the heaven, Hashem had said, just as you cannot count the stars of the heaven, so too your children will not be able to be counted. So there's a question which I always ask. The stars of the heaven cannot be counted. Not possible. It's not quantifiable. But we've never reached numbers which are not quantifiable. So was the bracha of we will be like stars of the heaven ever fulfilled? Seemingly it was. And yet we are quantifiable. So how do we reconcile the two realities? So I always say that we're talking about quantitative number and qualitative number. If we say Kol hamatzil nefesh achas Yisrael, kilu hitzil olam olei, saving one Jewish life is like saving the world. I mean, how's it possible? So clear, we're not speaking about quantitative, we're speaking about qualitative. If one Jew is the equivalent of the whole world, which is 8 billion people, that means innately the Jew in his innateness, his value is not quantifiable. That is the bracha, you'll be like the stars of the heaven. L'rov. Okay? And it's a phenomenal bracha. We'll see in a moment. Hashem Elokei Avosechem. Then Moshe says, Hashem Elokei Avosechem Yosef Aleichem Kochem Elef Pomim. And Hashem, your God, should add upon you 1,000 times your number. Vivorech Eschem, and he should bless you Kashedi Belochem, as he said he would. So over here, there's a famous Rashi. Yosef Aleichem Kochem Elef Pomim. If Moshe said Hashem should bless you 1,000 times, your number, what is afterwards? Moshe continues, Ma'u shuv yivorech eschem kashedi belochem, and he should bless you in addition as he said he would. Elo omru lo, Klal Yisrael said to Moshe Rabbeinu, Moshe atonose kitzul v'choseinu. Moshe, you're putting a limit on the bracha. For Evtiach HaKadosh Baruch Hu as Avram, Hashem yuchal ish limnos. Hashem had given a bracha to Avram that his children will be unquantifiable, meaning you cannot count them. But you're telling us you're actually putting a lid on it by saying 1,000 times our number. So that's within limitation. Omar lehem, so Moshe responded, Zumi shali, what I'm telling you should be 1,000 times. That's in addition to what Hashem said. That's my bracha. So whatever his bracha to you is, it should be 1,000 times that. What exactly is going back and forth over here? Klaus says, you're giving us a bracha, which should be 1,000 times our number. But factually, it's minimizing Hashem's bracha. Because he said to Avram that you're not going to be able to count them. And 1,000 times our number we can be counted. That's in addition to Hashem's bracha. What is the back and forth? So what we had once explained in the past, and it's a Gemara we had learned in Bava Metzia together, in El Metzias, based on a pasuk that the Gemara tells us, Eina brocha cholo elo dover hasomi min ayin. Brocha can only come upon something that's concealed from the eye. If it's counted, measured, or weighed, bracha will not come upon it. So, and the Gemara explains, what does this mean? That if a person goes and he brings in his harvest, and he doesn't quantify the harvest yet, and he supplicates Hashem, it should be the will of Hashem that bracha should come upon my harvest. And then he goes and he counts or measures what he has. It's a valid tefillah. Why? Because when he was mispalel, when he prayed, the quantity of the harvest was an unknown quantity. But if he first quantifies it, And then he says, Hashem should bring bracha upon my harvest. It's tefillah shov. It's a prayer in vain. Why? Because before he knew the number, it was something minayin. It was an unknown factor. Unknown, bracha has relevance to. Once you've quantified, you know exactly how many bushels you have, now bracha cannot come upon it any longer. As a result of that, it's a tefillah shov, it's a tefillah in vain. So I mentioned then the Maral of Prague. The Maral explains why if something is an unknown quantity, it has relevance to bracha, but once you quantify it, it no longer has relevance to bracha. So he explains that the concept of bracha is a spiritual concept. What does it mean? In the spiritual realm, things are limitless. They're not limited to time, space. It's ongoing. So a bracha is ongoing, meaning it's unending. And he gives the example, if somebody asks somebody for bracha, says, you should be benched. You should have bracha. Means unending. That is the nature of bracha. Bracha is unending. So the moment you go and you quantify the harvest, you're putting it into what? You're quantifying it. Once it's quantified, bracha no longer has relevance. If it has a spiritual characteristic, which is unknown factor, unknown quantity, it hasn't yet been quantified yet, bracha has relevance. Once you quantify it by measuring, weighing, or counting it, it no longer has relevance to bracha. Meaning like this, Hashem said to Klal Yisrael, you'll be like the stars of the heaven, which cannot be counted. Meaning, the Jewish people, they are an entity which has relevance to bracha. That is the bracha, unending. Whether it's quantitative, qualitative, doesn't make a difference. And they said to Moshe Rabbeinu, the bracha, the moment you go and quantify us, and you say 1,000 times what we are, if that's the case, you're quantifying us. That means you're reducing our capacity. We have no longer relevance to that bracha. That Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu says, no, it's 1,000 times the unknown. Whatever the unknown is, but Hashem knows what that known is. That is the bracha, which I'm giving you. Therefore, it's expanding the unknown 1,000 times. That's how we explain the back and forth dialogue between Moshe Rabbeinu and Klal Yisrael. I asked the question, we find there's a mitzvah to build the Mishkan. Vosli migdosh v'shchanti b'socham. All bracha emanates from the Mishkan. If we read the specifications, the exactness of the Mishkan, the vessels, the beams, everything, you can't have a location more exact and quantified as the Mishkan. Yet, the Mishkan is the domicile for Hashem's presence in this world. And Hashem is infinite. So we see that the infinite has relevance to something which is limitation. So how do we reconcile the concept which is communicated through the Pasuk and the building of the Mishkan? So we said the same thing. As numbers, in the physical sense, the Jews can be counted. But what is the innate value of a Jew? The innate value of a Jew is an unknown quantity, because it's qualitative. The Mishkan itself, in the physical sense, is specification are exact. But what are they? They're all symbolisms. The symbolisms represents unknown, unlimited entities in the spiritual realm. And when you go through these motions, you activate all levels of what? Spirituality. But they're all symbolisms. So therefore, as a result of that, to be able to be the symbolism, to represent the spiritual, it has to take on a certain structure. But so therefore, as a result of that, it has a capacity to contain the infinite. But when we speak about a bushel of wheat, and you want to quantify your harvest, a bushel of wheat is a bushel of wheat. Before you count them, you're not sure what the harvest is. Once the harvest is quantified and you know the number, now you know exactly what you have. As a result of that, it no longer has relevance to bracha.